Hey everyone, and we are back for week two, day two of remote learning. Now, I'm excited because we are starting African decolonization. And this is often, again, stories that we are not told, especially told in conversation with stuff that's going on in the United States at this time. So I'm really excited to kind of break down the context for African decolonial movements. Let's get into the objective. Students will be able to define, describe, contextualize the decolonization movements in Ghana and the Congo. Now, again, define means to be able to break down the meaning of a concept or a word. And in this case, we are defining the decolonization movements in Ghana and the Congo. To describe is to be able to give details about what that movement looks like, and to contextualize is to put it in a bigger historical conversation. Things that came before it, things that are also happening at the same time, and things that could potentially happen in the future or do potentially happen in the future. Now, again, decolonization movements, Ghana and the Congo are both decolonizing from their European powers. In the case of Ghana, it is the British, and in the case of the Congo, it is the Belgians. And we could activate some prior knowledge from these times. Now, one, we are going to do a right now and warm up, just questioning what is the importance of knowing Black history and why is this important in this specific unit. Two, we're going to do a Quizlet key terms survey. So you're going to click the link and go into Quizlet and learn some of the key terms of this unit, which is very, very important. Three, we're going to get into a video that is about 20 minutes long, and there is an opportunity for you to improve your leadership grade with this video. And then four, we're going to get into the source pack, and we're going to get some actual context about what happened at this time, what's going on in the world, why are these African countries getting their independence in around the 1960s. There's a reason for all of these things. Five is what you are going to be graded on. You are going to be graded on your answer to the Google Classroom question, and that grade will be on the evidence rubric. And when we close out, we're just going to reflect on what we learned for the day, and we're going to move on and talk about what we're going to do in the future. Let's get it cracking. So again, these are the decolonial movements in Ghana and the Congo, and we know that Ghana was colonized by the British and the Congo was colonized by the Belgians. Now, I want you to take a moment and just ask yourself, why is it important to know about Black history? Why does Black history matter? I want you to think about, look at some of these images up here. We've been looking at this quote in class. The most potent weapon in the hand of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. Do we learn about Black history? Is that intentional? Those who do teach you about Black history, why do you think they're intentional about teaching it to you? Why are movies like Black Panther so revolutionary? Why is the symbol of the shape of the continent of Africa in this fist so important? Why is it a symbol that some of you wear on your necklaces at school? Some of you who are children of African immigrants, some of you who are a part of the African diaspora through the transatlantic slave trade. Why are these things important? Take a moment to write down your response and then get back into the video. Now, here are just some images from decolonization movements in Ghana and the Congo. This is an image of Kwame Nkrumah, and you're going to learn more about him as you read in your source pack. And this is an image of Patrice Lumumba of the Congo, and you will learn more about him as you read in your source pack. Let's keep it going. Now, in the 1960s, several African countries start to gain their independence. Now, we have to think about this in these large questions. So look at these questions. In what ways do people resist exploitation? We learned about this with Gandhi and Ho Chi Minh. There's nonviolent resistance and there's armed resistance. How are both of these happening at the same time? We're going to look at this with these African nations. Two, what are the costs and benefits of challenging authority? These countries have been imperialized and colonized for decades. What are they going to gain from getting their independence, and what struggles, what losses might they have to take for fighting against this authority? And then lastly, how did these nations use their history as a tool for liberation? Now, go ahead and take some time to click the link for the Quizlet vocab and fill out and work on this so you can gain some of the vocab terms that you need to understand this unit. Let's pause right here. When you get back, press play. Now we are going to get into the source pack reading. Now, first you have to turn to page 4 of your source pack. It will be posted with an individual copy for you on Google Classroom. Make sure that you know where to find that copy, bookmark that copy. We're going to get into page 4, and in page 4, you are going to see a broad historical context about African decolonial movements. Now, just to give you a preview, we know that the 1960s is in the midst of the Cold War. We know that this is after World War II. We also have to think during World War II, most of European powers were at war with each other and not able to control their colonial holdings. And they were putting some of their colonial subjects in Africa and in Asia on the front lines to fight. And that can breed some real resentment among people who are being under the authority of these imperial powers. So all of these things are going to come together to kind of create the stage for African decolonial movements. Now keep in mind, step 3, you will be answering your Google question that will be the graded assignment. Now, that graded assignment is going to be graded on the evidence rubric. So go ahead, pause the video, and take some time to read pages 4 and 5 and answer your Google question. When you're back, there's an opportunity for extra credit as well as to lift your leadership grade by watching a video. So you could pause this and then move on to the video right after. Here is about a 20-minute video for you to watch about African decolonial movements. And we want you to email me or Mr. Beaton with the most important line or the most important quote or phrase or thing that you learned from this video in understanding the context for the decolonial movements in Ghana and the Congo. Now, again, this is the rubric you will be graded on. Make sure you double check it when you put your response, because some of you will get grades that you aren't happy with if you do not double check the rubric. I want to bring us here again. You must richly support by incorporating substantial, strategic, and relevant evidence. That means you have to read and understand the quote that you're pulling out. You're not just pulling out an arbitrary quote. You also probably should pull out several pieces of information from the text and explain those substantial and strategic. You have to think about, how does this evidence back up the context that I need for these decolonial movements? Now, just some announcements and some reminders as we close up. These are some key things for remote learning success. 1, chat me or Mr. Beaton. You know how to get a hold of one of us if you have any questions and you want to get the quickest response. Log into Zoom for office hours daily. Office hours will be between 1 and 3. Me and Mr. Beaton will post an update for when we are on Zoom and live. And finally, check your grades frequently. See what grades are going in. See what you need to have gone and click turn in on. Some folks are doing their work and not clicking turn in. Now, let's just recap everything that we learned today. So, we got some prior context about African decolonial movement, specifically in Ghana and the Congo. Now, we got some context about how World War II and Europeans not being able to hold their imperial lands as much as they were before. We also learned that some African subjects were being forced to fight in World War II, which built up resentment and wanted some more independence and liberation for their people. And we also asked the question, What are the costs and benefits of challenging authority? And we are going to think about that as we go through the rest of African decolonization. I look forward to seeing what you all learned. Please, again, shoot Mr. Beaton and myself a message if you need any support.